Good evening. It is Wednesday, September 16th. It is time for the Wednesday edition of the Iman Report. Today we are going to talk about the MLB Playoff Bubble. Yes, the MLB will head to a playoff bubble. And we will preview week 2 of the NFL. If you like what you see, please hit that like button. Most importantly, please hit that subscribe button. We are going to start off with the MLB bubble. The MLB has agreed to play playoffs in a bubble. You will have the AL bubble be in Los Angeles and San Diego. The NL bubble will be in Houston and Arlington, with the World Series going to be played at Globe Life Stadium in Arlington, Texas this year. They are discussing possibly having fans for the World Series. I don't like that idea. Hopefully that does not come to fruition. We will talk more baseball playoffs in a couple weeks when the MLB season wraps up. Now on to what everybody wants to talk about, NFL Week 2. We are going to start off with the Cincinnati Bengals against the Cleveland Browns. The favorites here are the Browns at 6 points, limping into the dog pound after getting thoroughly destroyed by the Baltimore Ravens. Cincinnati going to Cleveland after escaping a loss to the Los Angeles Chargers. Cleveland cannot afford an 0-2 start, especially Baker Mayfield. If Cleveland loses this game to Cincinnati, you're going to start hearing rumblings for Case Keenum. OBJ was AWOL in the game before. We need to see more OBJ. The Browns need to run the ball. They need to play better defense. I think they will. You going up against Joe Burrow. Joe Burrow is not Lamar Jackson. AJ Green. The Cincinnati defense is not the Ravens defense. So chances are I like the Cleveland's chances of rebounding, getting to 1-1, getting the win, and they are likely going to cover the spread. I am going to go with a score of, I'm going to say 27-14. Cleveland wins. Cleveland covers the spread. And Baker Mayfield saves his job for another day. Next game, the Jacksonville Jaguars against the Tennessee Titans. Jacksonville coming off a stunning the Indianapolis Colts. Tennessee coming off a victory of the Denver Broncos in Denver. For Jacksonville, the Tennessee offense is Ryan Tannehill is much better than Phillip Rivers. That's bad news. The other bad news is the Titans defense is much better than the Colts defense. So chances are this week, I see Jacksonville falling back to earth in this game. I expect to see Derrick Henry be able to run the football a lot more successfully against the Jacksonville defense. And I expect Ryan Tannehill to have all day throwing the football. I am taking the Titans. The Titans are the favorites by 9 points. I'm taking the Titans to win and to cover. This will not be close. I am going Titans 28-3. Next up, the New York Giants against the Chicago Bears. The Bears are the 5.5 favorites in this game. Yeah. Chicago, Mitch Trubisky somehow avoids a disastrous start against the Detroit Lions. Gets to 1-0. I think they will get to 2-0 this week. which will likely buy Mitch Trubisky some breathing time. Winning cures everything. As for New York, they're not a good team. I'm still not sold on Joe Judge. New York's defense is atrocious. The G-Men's defense is atrocious. Saquon will probably have another bad day. The Chicago's defense is really good. I'm taking the Bears to win and to cover. It will be somewhere in the, I'm saying somewhere in the lines of 24 to 10. Chicago wins it. Chicago gets to 2-0. The G-Men go to 0-2. Next up, a battle of two 0-1 teams, the Dallas Cowboys and the Atlanta Falcons. The Falcons put on a pretty good offensive show in a losing effort. Dallas underwhelmed against the Los Angeles Rams. Dallas cannot afford to go 0-2. Dallas is the 4-point favorites at AT&T Stadium. I don't know if Dallas is going to cover this game. I don't know if how well Dak Prescott's going to play at this point. Dak Prescott is starting to show he is not a franchise quarterback. He underperformed in LA under new coach Mike McCarthy. You can't keep firing coaches. So now it's Dak Prescott on the hot seat at this point. Dallas's defense will rebound. We will probably see a lot more of CeeDee Lamb in this game, hopefully. Good news for Dallas. Atlanta's defense is not that good. So that's going to bode well for Ezekiel Elliott. For Atlanta, can Todd Gurley get going? Will Atlanta be able to get to Calvin Ridley and Julio Jones? I don't know. I think Dallas's defense will be playing angry in this game. So I'm not sure if Dallas is going to cover, but I am taking Dallas to win. This will be a close game. I'm going to go Dallas somewhere in the lines of 31-28. And Dallas avoids an 0-2 start. Next up, the Denver Broncos against the Pittsburgh Steelers. Steelers, the 7-point favorites. Denver actually looked pretty impressive in a losing effort. Drew Lock did not look too terribly bad. The Denver defense is actually better than Denver's defense looked pretty well without Von Miller. At some point, Denver is going to get their fair share of wins. And I think Denver is definitely a wild card threat this year. They just went up against a good Tennessee Titans team. Pittsburgh, they looked okay against a bad New York Giants team. I'm still not sold on Ben Roethlisberger. But if the Steelers are able to run the football, I think the Steelers have a good chance to win the game. But I do like Denver's chances of pulling an upset this week in Pittsburgh. Especially if Philip Lindsay gets going. So I think I am going to go with an upset here. The Denver Broncos upset the Pittsburgh Steelers by a score of 17-14 in a battle of two good defenses. Next up, the Minnesota Vikings against the Indianapolis Colts. The Vikings are a lot worse than last year. It's the Dalvin Cook show and nobody else. Indianapolis, Phillip Rivers is bad. Period. And the defense was awful last week. So was Minnesota's defense. But I think the edge-wise, I kind of think Minnesota has the better defense. They should be good enough to beat the Indianapolis Colts. I think Kirk Cousins is going to have all day throwing the football in this game. Losing Marlon Mack is going to be huge for Indianapolis. And I feel that once the Colts do get to 0-2 at some point, we are going to start talking about benching Phillip Rivers for Jacoby Brissett. So I am taking, who's the favorite? All right, the Colts are the 3-point favorites. So I'm taking the Vikings to upset here. Vikings win it 35-17. It'll be all Vikings all the time in this game. Next up, the Carolina Panthers against the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. The Tom Brady era in Tampa Bay started with a disappointing loss against the New Orleans Saints. Carolina actually looked okay in a losing effort against the Las Vegas Raiders. The bad news for Carolina is the Tampa defense is much better than the Raiders defense. And Tom Brady is going to be angry. I don't know, but I still think at 43, Tom Brady still has some magic. I think Tampa Bay is going to be able to run the football on Carolina. And Tom Brady can just be a game manager and enjoy the game. And I also think Tampa Bay is going to get in the win column this week. Tampa Bay is going to win. They are the 9.5 point favorites. Tampa to win. Tampa to cover. It'll be all Tampa all the time, 45-10. Next one, the Buffalo Bills go to the Miami Dolphins. Miami, never an easy place to play in September where it's hot and humid and ugly. At least they now have a shade structure at Hard Rock Stadium. Jared Allen did not exactly woo everybody off woo our feet off last week. But I do think Buffalo is going to be able to run the football on Miami. Fitzpatrick looked awful, threw 3 picks last week. I think the Buffalo defense is going to terrorize Ryan Fitzpatrick yet again. And I think the Dolphins will go to 0-2. And the clock on Tua begins. But the Bills are the 5 to 6 point favorites. I am going to take the Bills 27-20. Bills to win, Bills to cover. Next up, the San Francisco 49ers against the New York Jets. Oh, I think the 49ers are going to be angry after losing to the Cardinals last week. But I think this loss was more due to how Arizona schemes. If they lose to the Jets and fall 0-2, then there are problems with this team. Even with the load of injuries the Niners have this week, no Richard Sherman, possibly no George Kittle, no Deebo Samuel. They signed Mohamed Sanu. Brandon Ayuk looking to make his 49ers debut this Sunday. Problem is the Jets have squat. By the end of this year, Adam Gase is going to be gone. And Sam Darnold's going to be looking for another team. The Jets are tanking. The Niners are hungry to get a win. This is going to be blowout, 41-3 Niners. Niners win. Niners cover the 7-point spread. Next up, the Los Angeles Rams travel to Philadelphia to take on an injury-ravaged Philadelphia Eagles team where the O-line is pretty banged up. The Rams defense played pretty well last week against the Dallas Cowboys in their home debut. And I think the Rams defense will be good enough to beat the Eagles. I do think the Eagles have a lot more questions than answers. But with the O-line banged up, you got to start worrying about Carson Wentz getting hurt yet again. It might happen. Philly's defense has regressed. The Rams, maybe they're recovering from that Super Bowl hangover. Time will tell. But if Philly goes to 0-2, Jim Schwartz will start feeling the heat. Will the Rams go to 2-0? The favorites this week are this is a pick'em game. This one's a pick'em game. I am taking the Eagles to win. I'm taking the Rams to win. Taking the Rams to win 20-17. Rams go to 2-0. There's just too many questions about this Philadelphia Eagles team. Next up at Lambeau Field, the Detroit Lions take on the Green Bay Packers. The Packers, the 6-point favorites. Aaron Rodgers was throwing dimes like it was Christmas Day last week against the Detroit Lions, against the Minnesota Vikings. And I think Aaron Rodgers is going to have no problem repeating this performance against the Detroit defense. Detroit fooled us in thinking they actually had a defense until the fourth quarter last week. I have no confidence in Detroit's defense. I have no confidence in Matt Patricia. I feel bad for Matthew Stafford. At some point, we are going, but I feel like this is going to be a rout for Green Bay. Stafford Patricia is not a good coach. And at 0-2, Matt Patricia is going to start thinking, Matt Patricia and Bob Quinn are going to start fretting for their jobs. Whereas Green Bay, it's going to be 2-0, and things are going to be looking up for the Packers at 2-0. I'm taking Green Bay to win, Green Bay to cover. It might be a blowout here, 45-20. Next up at State Farm Field, the Washington football team plays the Arizona Cardinals. The Arizona Cardinals, the 6.5-point favorites. Is this Cardinals team for real? Is the Washington defense for real? I'm leaning more towards Arizona being the better team. Arizona has Kyler Murray's the better quarterback. Dwayne Hopkins is a good wide receiver. Now that Kyler has a weapon, I think they are going to have another awesome game. Washington going to the West Coast, I don't see it happening. Washington's not going to go to 2-0. I think it's going to be more Arizona going to 2-0. And I do think Arizona might be a legitimate playoff team this year. If the defense can hold again this week, this team is for real 2-0. I think Arizona goes 2-0. They win. They cover the spread. Arizona wins it 28-20. Next up, the Baltimore Ravens go to Houston to take on the Houston Texans. Houston's might be in for another long day here. Now, Lamar Jackson's no longer just a running threat. He can throw the football. Lamar was awesome throwing the football last week. The bad news is, the other good news for Lamar is the Texans' defense is terrible. I think we're going to see Lamar win yet again with his arm. Maybe do a little running for just for old time's sake. But for the Texans, this team has problems. Problem is it's now I'm getting a little bit of a brain fart here, so forgive me here. It's it's Deshaun Watson, and who else do you have in Houston? DeAndre Hopkins is over there in Arizona now, so this is a sinking ship. Texans are going to 0-2. Bill O'Brien's going to be in a lot of trouble, and he might want to go bail out for college next year at some point. And Ravens favored by 7. Ravens to win. Ravens to cover. I am going to go Ravens 31 to 10. This one's not even going to be close. Next up, my lock of the week. The Kansas City Chiefs against the Los Angeles Chargers. The LA Chargers actually won a football game with Tyrod Taylor last week. Wow. But problem is that was against the Bungles. The Chiefs are not the Bungles. Now you got a double threat with the Chiefs. Now it's not just Tyreek Hill. It's not just Travis Kelce. It's not just Patrick Mahomes. Now the Chiefs can run the football. The Chiefs are a lot more balanced this year. That's going to make it a very long day for the Chargers defense. This is not going to be pretty for the Chargers. And it's going to make them remind fans of Justin Herbert. I don't think there's any way the Chargers win this game. I think it's going to be all Chiefs all the time. Chiefs win. Chiefs cover the 8.5 point spread. It will be Chiefs somewhere in the lines of 35-3. This is not even going to be close. And here we go. Sunday night football. This one should be a good game. The New England Patriots against the Seattle Seahawks. I think this one is going to be a very fun game. You've got Cam Newton going up against Russell Wilson. The only thing that might help the Patriots is the fact that there will be no 12th man in Seattle, fans not being allowed in the stands at CenturyLink Field. The edge goes to the defensively, the advantage might go to the Patriots. Offensively, advantage goes to the Seahawks. You've got Russell Wilson. You've got Greg Olsen, who really put in a good game last week. And of course, there's all kinds of weapons Russell Wilson uses. Chris Carson. Honestly, between a battle of Cam and Wilson, I'm taking Russell Wilson. Seattle is the 4 points favorites. I will take Seahawks to win, but they're not going to cover. It'll be 27-24. Seahawks get the victory. And the final game of the week for Monday Night Football. And make a note of it. This week, Monday Night Football will be on ABC. So keep that in mind. The New Orleans Saints against the Las Vegas Raiders. The Saints will be without Michael Thomas this week. But don't worry, they got other weapons. They could use Emmanuel Sanders. They've got Taysom Hill. Of course, Alvin Kamara is not just a runner. He can receive a football. So I think they're not going to miss a beat. And the Raiders' defense is horrible. Maybe they can stop Kamara. Who knows? But if the only way I can see the Raiders even keeping it close is if the Raiders are able to stop the run. The Raiders won in Carolina last week, but the defense was not good. But I think fans are going to start calling for Paul Gunther's head again if they get blown out. But also, the Saints have a good defense. They're going to be able to shut down Derek Carr. So for the most part, I am going to take the Saints to win. It'll be a fairly close game. I'm not going to take them to cover. But the Saints find a way to win. It'll be something like 20. I'm going to go 24-21. Saints win. Spoil the opener at Las Vegas. These are my picks for this week. I'm sticking to them. Everybody have a good night. Stay safe. Don't breathe the smoke if you can help it. Good night. We'll be back Saturday night for UFC recap.